first experience interacting with the engineering students. So I was not very sure that how to proceed with it. There might be something which I can speak, which is more of a legal connotations and which might not be that useful for the engineering students, or they might not catch it. That is why I'm thankful to you that you have opted for such a topic where I can correlate with the some technological aspects and the human rights. Now, as the professor have stated that you guys are new to the human rights, so I'll try to go ahead with a brief understanding of human rights, then what right to privacy is, and then we will be try to delve into the aspects of the right to privacy in the digital age. In fact, I have shared the reading material yesterday, and I hope you guys might have read it. So prior to the commencement of this today's lecture or the webinar, one thing I would like to request you all that wherever you have any kind of doubt or you need more clarity from my end, or you feel that I must focus on something different than what is going on, or you want a different dimension of it to be covered, feel free to raise your hand and ask a question, or even you can feel free to put it in the chat box and I will love to respond to it. Now, when you are studying this very particular course, human rights, the very first thing that comes to the mind of a learner is that what exactly the course is. What are the objectives of this particular course? Why I am being taught this particular subject? Definitely, with regard to the engineering students, someone who is into electronics and electricals, that how the human right aspect is taken into consideration. Human right is something which is very closely associated with law, which is a part of a political science. Then why in an engineering course you are having the subject of human rights? That might be a very viable question for all of you. The answer to it lies in the very concept of human right. If you try to understand, if you try to look the conceptual analysis of the term human rights, you will figure it out that human rights are all those rights which are available to each and everyone by virtue of being a human. We are born as a human, and there are certain rights which are associated with us even from our birth. In fact, even prior to our birth. So human rights are those rights which are associated with us by virtue of us being a human. And these rights are available to everyone irrespective of its nationality, race, religion, color, caste, sexual orientation. There might be certain cases. Say, in fact, if you have entered into a kind of agreement with any one of your friend, or say for me, you and I have entered into an agreement that I will sell my mobile phone to you, and in return you will be paying some 2000 rupees to me. I have given my mobile phone to you, but you have not paid me, or you have given me 2000 rupees and I have not given you my mobile phone. That's something that was agreed between you and me. What option we have? The option available to both of us in those cases where there is a breach of contract or agreement by any one of the parties is that we can go to the court of law. The law provides for it. So that right to go to the court is a legal right because the law is providing it. But for the human rights, there is not necessarily there must be an instrument providing for that right. Even there is no law providing for it, or there is a state which is curtailing on certain points, then also I have that very particular right by virtue of it being a human right. If a state, any state, is not granting the citizens right to freedom as freedom of speech and expression, there are restrictions imposed heavily on the freedom of speech and expression. No one is allowed to speak. The free speech is a misnomer there. So does it mean that the freedom of speech and expression is not available to them because the law do not permit? No, because the freedom of speech and expression is a very basic right, that is human right. Under any given circumstances that cannot be taken away from the human being. Even in those cases where the law is not providing for it, in those cases also that right remains with you. So there are many rights, like right to life, right to liberty to move freely from one place to another, right to food, right to clean environment, right to portable drinking water, right to freedom of speech and expression, right to religion, right to form a family. So all these rights taken together, they form the human rights. Those rights which are very basic to the human existence, and not merely a human existence, but a dignified human existence. So that is the concept of human right. And whether the student is of law, the student is of engineering, the student is of medical, they have certain aspects of human right associated with their course, or maybe with their professional life when they will be going ahead. You are the students of electrical and electronics engineering. You will be going ahead with the technological advancements. To what extent your right with your researches can go and no affect the human rights? Are you allowed for each and everything which falls within your domain without considering that how it is impacting the others? You have made a device, the device or any app which collects the data of everyone who is downloading that app on his phone. You might not be aware. For you might have just made an app. You have registered it on Google Play. People are downloading it. But in lieu, whenever they are downloading it, you are collecting the data of those individuals. Definitely, you are interfering into their personal human rights. So, the human right course as such is so closely connected with every field that you cannot ignore the human rights or the existence of human rights in any course. And I believe that is the objective of you being introduced with the subject of human rights in engineering. Now, if we try to understand that what are the characteristics of these human rights, we have said that we have human right, I have human rights, you have human right. What are the characteristics of these human rights? The very first characteristic of the human right is that it is universal. It's not like that the people in India are having different human right and someone sitting in Norway is having a different human rights. The human rights are universal. They are for everyone. Irrespective of their caste, color, creed, religion, region, everyone is having the same human rights. There might be a case that for us right now, some other human rights are important, and someone who is sitting in the developed country, for them, another human right is important. Maybe someone is struggling to have a right to anonymity or right to be anonymous. We are struggling to have right to internet as a free source, or declaring internet to be a human right. Whereas there must be some underdeveloped country where right to food is a human right. They are struggling for the 2 meals a day. So the needs and the aspects of human rights may be different for different people, but the human rights are universal. They are available to every individual irrespective of any difference. Second, they are inalienable. The human rights cannot be alienated from you. If you are a human, those rights are being guaranteed to you by virtue of you being human. They will remain with you. They will be a right, except in those cases where the due process of law have been followed. or you have done something wrong where you are under the you are being tried by the criminal justice system. Even in those cases also, the human rights for those person who are accused will apply. Like, no one can torture you. You will be given opportunity of fair hearing. No one will be judging in their own cause. So even in when you have, if you are accused of certain thing, there might be certain restriction imposed upon you. But at that point of time also, you are having your human rights. So human rights are universal, they are inalienable, and they are indivisible. When I say indivisible, I mean you cannot say, okay, these XYZ human rights are for Mr. A and ABC human rights are for Mr. Z. All the human rights are for every individual. And you cannot divide them, right? And lastly, the last characteristics of human right can be understood to be they are inseparable, they are interdependent. One human right is dependent upon the other. If I have right to life, I have right to life with dignity, then I definitely have right to food. Then I definitely have a right to free and clean environment. I definitely have right to health care. I definitely have right to education. So all these rights are available to us. Now this, I believe, gives you a clear idea as to what human rights are. And we have Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We have ICCPR, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. And then we have ICSCR. So all these rights or instruments taken together, they forms the Bill of Rights. A brief description of it is available in the notes I have shared with you yesterday. So I won't be dwelling upon those points much, because I believe for the purpose of understanding today's lecture, this much of understanding of human rights is enough. That we all have human rights, and though they are the rights which are very much needed or very much required for our existence, or not for a mere animal existence, but for a dignified life. Now, if I ask you that what is the first thing we all do when we wake up early in the morning? Is there anyone who do not look at his or her mobile phone as soon as we are waking up in the morning? And what is the last thing we do at night? Again, watching, binge watching, using social media apps. So the very first thing we do in the morning is to have a look at our mobile phones. The last thing we do in a day is to have a look at our mobile phone. Even in case our sleep get disturbed and we are awake at midnight, at that point of time also, what we will be doing for the first is to looking at our mobile. If there is anyone who do not follow this regime, I congratulate you that you are living a life better than us, many of us. At least this is my daily routine. The very first thing I'm doing in the morning is looking for at my mobile phone, checking mails, checking texts, reading news. The last thing I'm doing in the day is reading news or going through my social media handles. And I believe that is what majority of us are doing. Now what if you get to know that whatsoever you are chatting with your friend, whatsoever you are sharing with your family, is being recorded at any place, or there is anyone who is continuously keeping a track of what you are doing, what you are talking, what you are reading, what you are eating, what you are buying, where you are going, how will you feel? So there is no harm. We can have it an interactive session and you guys can speak. Okay, let me put in a question wise. How many of you would like that someone is reading your chats? Is there anyone who feel like, okay, if the my college is going through what my mails, are you happy with it? I believe no one will be happy with that. Okay, all of you are on social media handles. Am I boring you to that extent that you can't even interact with me?
Sir, the reply, I will tell the guys to do it in the chat box reply. So
No,
that
it's
will be
fine. They can unmute themselves as well. I don't mind so. When they need to speak, they can unmute themselves. Okay. So no one will like that. So every one of you must definitely be in the social media handles. You must be using social media to interact with your family, to interact with your friends, and at times to interact with the strangers as well. Uh, have you ever felt that if you have looking for something on the social media or say on internet, just after you have figured out or you have finished your surfing, immediately after that you will be having so many recommendations of the same type. Like, if I have booked my ticket from Hyderabad to New Delhi, within 5 minutes I'll be having the offers of booking hotels in Delhi. Within 10 minutes I'll be having the offers of booking cabs from airport to my home in Delhi. Have you ever noticed that? That as soon as you are looking, or say for example, you are looking for headphones on a big billion day sale, and you have searched for so many headphones, and since then you are continuously flooded with the advertisements on headphones. Different companies are sending you their advertisements. Your mailbox is full of it. Your social media handles are full of it. Now what this shows? This shows that someone is at every point of time looking at you. There are people, there are multinational corporations, there are states who are gauging your each and every step. In fact, I don't know, because being a professor of law and very much inclined towards the right to privacy. In fact, I have seen that if I am writing someone, I'm chatting with someone and I have messaged that I am feeling hungry. Within few minutes, I got the advertisement on my screen of Zomato or Swiggy. Observe it next time you are dealing with it. Meaning thereby what we believe, that if I am chatting to an individual through my personal messages, the conversation between me and him or her is secure, is private, then these kind of situation, these kind of circumstances, or these kinds of examples raise many alarms. And no one of us like it that what we are doing is known to the world. Why? Because every one of us want to have some personal life. And we want that personal life to be free from the interference. Interference of the people, of the state, of the multinational corporations. I'll respond to that on memes part. I'll respond to that. So we all, every one of us want to have that personal sphere of ours, which is free from anyone's interference. And the desire to have that personal sphere is what we know as right to privacy. The right to be let alone. I do not want interference of anyone in my personal life. I don't want anyone to tell me what I must eat. I do not want anyone to tell me what I should wear. I do not want anyone to tell me what should I speak. I do not want anyone to interfere in my personal life, that if I want to have a child, whether I must have that child through surrogacy, whether I must have that particular child by reproduction, or I must have that child by adoption. That is my personal sphere. So individual's personal sphere and the public sphere are two different things. And when we are dealing with our personal life, we do not want the interference of anyone in our personal life. What I want to listen or what I am listening, what I am watching is none of anyone's concern. Till the time I am doing it within a four walls of a room, my home. Definitely, if say for example, I want to smoke sorry to give such an example, but I want to smoke a cigarette, though I'm a non-smoker. Within my four walls of home, I can do so. No one can come and ask me, you cannot smoke in your home. But if you want to go and smoke in a public place, there are restrictions that can fetch you a fine of rupees 200 if you are smoking on a public place. Now, why there is a difference? Because what you are doing in a public place, it's your public life. And what you are doing in within your four walls of home, it is your public life. So anyone can interrupt me when I am in the public sphere, but when I am in the personal domain of my home or even my comfort zone, no one have the right to interfere in my personal life. And that is what the premise of the right to privacy is. Though a right which have been being discussed from the time of Aristotle, the Greek philosopher. In the Western countries in 1890 and even before that, there were articles written on right to privacy. 1890, 130 years from now. But in India, we have realized this right to privacy is an absolute right. Very, just few years back in 2017-18, when the Honorable Supreme Court, while deciding on the Aadhaar judgment, Aadhaar card, in the case of Justice Puttaswamy versus Union of India, held that right to privacy is an absolute right. It's a part of Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. So right now, all of us, we have our right to privacy, meaning thereby we are free from any unwanted interference from any individual in our personal domain, which definitely includes autonomy over our body. Someone might be have a particular, say for example, I do not want I want to adopt a child. I can adopt a child. No one can interfere in that particular right of mine. Similarly, the person to whom I want to marry, it's my choice. I have the autonomy over my personal decisions. I have the autonomy over my personal life. I can marry any person of my choice for the exclusion of all others. They are not part of my personal life. My sexual orientation depends. It's my choice. My food preferences depends upon my choice. My clothes, they are my choice. So they all forms what I want to listen, what I want to speak. But definitely my speak must not outrage others, must not create law and order situation. But still, in my personal domain, what I want to sing, what I want to say, it's my complete my prerogative, none of anyone's else. So that is what the premise of right to privacy. That every individual have certain rights where they do not want any interference from someone else's life. Even the state do not have that right to interfere in our personal domain. And this right to privacy becomes more important when it comes to the issues like surveillance. Say, for example, you are having a mobile phone with you. The government is continuously tracking you, where you are going. Or my laptop is within the control of the government. For example, they know today I am interacting with the students of an SNS, College of Engineering. So that continuous surveillance an individual have been put in is again against his or her right to privacy. Except in those cases where the government is having a general, they are well within the principle of proportionality to do certain acts. But even if they fear that there is, say, for example, there is X person, the government fear that he might get involved or he is conspiring for some terrorist act. The government can track him with the due process of law, or the government can put him under surveillance. But can that surveillance be lasting for 5 years, 1 year, 6 months? No. Individual have this right to feel freely, move freely, walk freely. It is none of anyone's concern. Even the government have restricted powers. They must justify the principles of existing law to go ahead with that. That is the very idea of right to privacy. Now, if we try to look into the question I have raised, that are your social media handles foolproof? Your chats are free from any kind of external intrusion? Your mobile phone gallery is safe? Your Gmail addresses are safe? Your Google searches are safe? Right. So there is, see, definitely the law has evolved from time to time. Wherever the society have felt the need that there is a vacuum of any law, the legislature have come up with some of the legislations, with laws, with rules, bylaws, orders. And that vacuum which have been created, it was filled by bringing in the laws. With the human right, with the technological advancements, those legal issues raised to a different level. And every day we are having more technological advancements and we are in need of more laws. Say, for example, now you have the concept of artificial intelligence. We need to have a settled law because the way artificial intelligence is going ahead or moving with such a rapid speed, if we need to be at par with the technological development, we need to come up with the laws. So whenever there have been a technological advancement, there have been certain issues which have been raised. The issues which are legal, the issues which are ethical, the issues which are moral. So for the time being, let's just take away the ethical and the ethical part or the moral part. And if we focus upon the legal implications or the legal points, We need to have certain laws, definitely, with the technological advancement. We have laws. Say, for example, you are coming up with some new invention of yours. You will have it patented on your name. If you are drawing a new structure, new design, you will have it copyright on your name. But still there are certain fields where the technological advancement have gone to that extent that there is a vacuum of law. The law on those points are not available. Meaning thereby the human rights and the technological advancements. Definitely the technological advances have also helped in human rights. Say for example, now you can provide more clean drinking water easily with the technological advancements. You can treat more patients in a given time. But there are certain alarming concerns of the technological advancement on the human rights as well. And one of the most important of them is right to privacy in the digital age. If I ask you, we all are on social media handles. I am on Instagram, I am on Facebook, I am on Twitter. Some of you might be on, Snapchat as well, Signal, WhatsApp. You might be there. And every software or every application do have their privacy policy. Right? Have you ever tried to read the privacy policy? Or you ever pondered upon the fact that why when we are downloading an application, why the application needs access to our gallery, why the application needs the access to our messages, why the application needs access to our Gmail? Have you ever read that? Or have you ever tried to understand that why this being so? Mark Zuckerberg was tried in the US Parliament. For what? Because data which was collected through Facebook of 87 million users was compromised. And not only of those who were on the Facebook, but even those who have made an ID at one point of time and now they are not using it. What this all signifies? What this all signifies? This signifies that this right to privacy in the digital age is kind of a myth. Now, no, whatever we are doing is not protected. And you might feel that, okay, what harm it is causing to us if they know where I am going, what I am eating, what I am wearing, what I am looking for, what harm it is causing to me. Directly, you might not know that what harm it is causing to you, but definitely there are greater harms which are being caused. The state machinery is using these social media apps, the internet for that purpose. The multinational corporations are using it for that purpose. If our whole mindset as a society is being manipulated. I'll give you example of each. Say I was looking for the earbuds to deliver my lectures. I have tried to figure it out on Flipkart and Amazon, and since that I was flooded, literally flooded with the advertisements and the suggestions for the earbuds, from Noise to Boat to Realme to Samsung, and so many of them. And eventually I ended up purchasing one. Or it might be a case that I was not looking for myself, I was looking for someone else. Or someone have asked me to tell that which earbud is the best available in that particular range. But with so many advertisements flooding in, I fallen within the trap and I purchased one. Now, when your personal information is going to the MNCs, multinational corporations, they are manipulating you into purchasing those items. They are pushing you to have those items available with them. You might be saving for some, I will have this, I will be going for vacation. But you will end up buying certain items which might not be of that use for you. So that is your commercial exploitation when with the right to privacy being compromised in the digital age. Secondly, our manipulation as a society. 2010 US elections, 10 years from now. You must be aware that the whole of the world is looking or waiting eagerly for the US general elections results. What happened in 2010? When Barack Obama was contesting against the Republican candidate Mitt Romney. And how our minds are manipulated, how we are infected with certain traits which we do not have originally in us. Why the hatred towards one is being spread at such a large level, how the individuals or the agencies are successful in doing so. So what happened in the 2010 elections? So when Barack Obama was a presidential candidate, Mitt Romney was a presidential candidate, and they were having their own websites. Every presidential candidate have their own website where their agenda is reflected. So whenever you are going to the website of Mitt Romney or Barack Obama, the website was showing only those parts which depends upon your previous serve on internet. Meaning thereby, if I was continuously searching religious texts or I am continuously reading Bible or the commentaries on Bible on my internet with the help of my internet. So as soon as I will go on the website, I'll be greeted by a Bible text. The agenda which was being reflected to me was which was more tilted towards my orientation, towards my ideology. Similarly, if someone was surfing more of a liberal content, he was being greeted in a similar manner. Now, what is the issue here? The issue is the manipulation of our minds. When we do not have the right to privacy, when we do not have that personal domain being intact, the others can take the benefit of it. They can fool us in a manner as to what we are not. And they can make us believe in something which they are not. So everyone will go and read and say, okay, this is the person perfect for me. His ideology suits with mine. He is of the same opinion as I am. But what it was a compromise with your right to privacy, where your search history was taken into account, where your internet searches was taken into account, where your chat boxes were taken into account. That is the another aspect. Yes, your ideological manipulation or exploitation, or your societal exploitation. Have you ever noticed that nowadays you will only see what the states want to show it to you? Have you ever noticed that there are only some incidences which are trending on internet, whereas the similar kind of activities or atrocities are happening otherwise also, but only certain acts, certain incidents are being highlighted, because the states want to focus only on those, and every other thing what you want to see, what you want to listen is being curtailed. That is another form of your exploitation. So if we try to understand that what is this, how this right to privacy is being governed in the digital era, when everything which we are having is being compromised, everything what we are doing is known to everyone else. There are agencies which can easily identify what we are doing, what we are eating. Then what kind of a life, or what kind of a this culture it is? And for that, let me give you a brief example of the concept of panopticon by Bentham. Bentham was a criminal law, scholar, and he has suggested many criminal law reforms. So panopticon was his concept of surveillance. What he said, that the prisons must be made in such a manner that they are circular in shape. The prisons must be circular in shape, with the only the walls on the three sides and the bars on the front side. And then in the center of the prison, you will have one tower with searchlights on it. And that searchlights are continuously striking all the cells. So whosoever is in that prison, they will be under an impression that continuously they are being watched. Continuously someone is looking at them. Even in the case where no one is standing on the tower, they will not get to know of it, because they will remain under an impression that someone is continuously watching on them. As Bentham believed that the behavior of certain individual can be well governed when they are under supervision or surveillance. So he said that we must have prisons in the shape of panopticon. We not need to give 1,000 policemen to keep a track on it. Even one individual will do. His concept of panopticon was taken forward by Michel Foucault, another French philosopher. And he said that why only in the prison? We can have the same concept in our society as well. If we can create such a society where everyone have this impression that they are continuously being surveillanced, they are continuously being tracked, everything what they are doing is known, then automatically their behavior will be governed. So what we have right now in the digital age is the principle of, or the concept of panopticon, where we are the source of information, but nothing we receive from their end. All the information is going from our end, but we are not the subject matter of that information. That is not coming to us. We are continuously seen, but we cannot see who is watching us. So the present day right to privacy in the digital era is similar to that of concept of panopticon by Bentham and Foucault. Now, what is the way ahead? How we can come out of it? Do we have certain measures in our hand, the way we can protect ourselves? Yes, we can. Firstly, we need to have strong laws. Now, strong laws is not something which are within your or my domain. The laws will be made by the government. The government have appointed a committee to look for the data protection laws. The committee was formed in the year 2015 or 16. They have submitted their report. Now they are trying to come up with data protection laws. How successful those laws will be and how they will be protecting our data, that's a different matter. Why the government had to ban certain Chinese apps? Because they were violating our right to privacy. They were compromising with our data. They were compromising with our information. So first, the laws need to be there. And whenever the government is coming up with the laws, it is the duty of me and you, the citizens of India. We must push for strong laws. We must push where our data is not compromised. Secondly, when we are downloading any apps, read carefully what is the privacy policy of those apps. Just do not download them like anything. Try to read them. And when any app is unnecessary, irrelevant for you, and it is asking access to your gallery, where you might have your personal pictures, the software is asking, or the application is asking for your information to your text messages, don't give it. What we usually do when we download an app, we do yes, 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 yes. Whatever they are asking, we say yes, 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 yes. We don't even look at what they are asking. If it is not necessary for you, don't use it. There is no need of it. And the last and the most important, awareness. Be aware of it. Don't click on random links. You might be receiving so many spams that you have won the lottery of $1 lakh, $1 million, $1 billion, free tickets, extra so many things. Don't fall for the trap. Privacy is something which is very dear to us. No one likes the interference of the others in their lives. Ever we use the terms, it's my life, don't put your nose into my life. So if someone is advising us, we don't need, we simply rudely say that I don't need you to poke your nose into my affairs. But when the same is being done through internet, on the digital era, we are very happy with that. In fact, we are not even aware that that is happening to us. So we cannot let that happen in that manner. We have to be very much aware, and we need to take into consideration when you are going ahead with your studies, when you are going ahead with your developments, whether you are going ahead with your inventions, that the basic your inventions, your work must help in strengthening of the human rights. Your work, your invention, your innovation, your research must not go wayward, inflicting or infringing rights of others, but it must strengthen the human rights. It must strengthen the cause of the human rights. And to conclude, I can give you just one example. There is a very famous German story, the story of Frost and Devil. So there was one guy, Frost, and he wanted to have so many things. So once Devil appeared before him and said that I will give you everything you want, but you have to promise me one thing. He said, what? He said, you take whatever you want, but your life is mine. You have to trade with me. I will give you whatever you want, but your life is mine. You will do whatever I require. Ask you. He happily said, yes, I'm ready. So he traded his life for his needs, or for his desires, for his wishes. And that is something similar that has happened to us. Internet is giving us, or this digital age is giving us all what we need. It has made our life easier like anything. But to some extent, we have surrendered ourselves to the digital age. governed by the digital age. We are doing whatsoever is required by the digital age. We see what they want us to see. We eat what they want us to eat. We are outraged on the issues they want us to be outraged. We ignore the issues where they want us to ignore the issues. So kind of we have surrendered ourselves. The only way possible to come out of it is when we have those laws and we are aware as to what is right and what is wrong, what information is to be shared and what not. Because that information you are sharing might come haunting you after 2 years, and you won't be able, you won't be even able to understand that what happened with you, because that will be done so silently, in such a manner that it will appear to you, okay, that is something regular course of things which is happening to me. So be aware of all those things. That is all from my end. Let me take the questions. So what you have put in the chat box. I have just reduced my lecture to considerably, so that I can finish well within the time, because the question and answers might take another some time. Okay. Creating memes is a right to privacy act or not, sir? Now, creating memes on whom? You cannot use my personal picture in creating a meme. If you are using my personal picture, then it is violative of my right to privacy. But if there is some pictures which are available on the public domain, like say for example, some movie scene is there and the memes are being made on that particular movie scene. Now that movie scene is already in the domain, public domain. So something which is already in the public domain, that is absolutely fine. But your meme, I'm not saying make any kind of a meme. Your meme must not be outrageous. It must not be insulting someone's religion. It must not be, defaming someone. And all those things you have to keep in mind. But from the privacy aspect, if you take something like you had my mobile phone, or you had access to my mobile phone, you have downloaded any picture from my mobile phone which is mine, private property, and you have made a meme using that particular picture, then it might attract the violation of right to privacy. But for all those things which are available on the public domain, it won't. Taking picture of any famous person through smartphone comes under the right to privacy. If they are, again, as I have just now said, if they are on the road, the concept of paparazzi is there. But when they are in their personal state, right, you cannot go and clicking the pictures into the bedroom of those celebrities. They need their personal time as well. They have gone to a restaurant, they are having dinner, and you are just simply standing there clicking their pictures. That will not only be violative of their right to privacy, but that will amount to stalking as well. That will amount to trespass to person as well. So just they are passing by, they are standing, they are shooting something, you have clicked the picture, that's absolutely fine. Now, right to privacy is something which differs from case to case based on the facts. Now they have came to use the public toilet and you are clicking the pictures in the public toilet. That definitely be violative of the right. Okay. Awareness about human rights and its laws is very less. Human Rights Commission, NGOs, and law systems are working for it. How can you improve awareness in the country like us? Yeah, see, the issue is that Human Rights Commission and the NGOs, they are striving. They are striving, but the awareness as to the human rights can only go when it is being much talked about. The NGO, this with the, if you see the length and breadth of the country, if you see the population of the country, it is not possible for certain organizations to reach every nook and corner of the country. It is you and me who have to go. For example, I'll give you a brief example of domestic violence. one of the research which was recently conducted, the women who were being beaten up or physically injured by their husbands, 6 out of 10 believed that their husband was justified in doing so. And as I've said, this right to privacy concern issue or concern, how many of us were aware that okay, these things are happening? So it is when we as an individual will go out, will talk much of the human rights, and human rights issues are not with regard to it only. It is they are there in the criminal justice system. You see, the caste discriminations are still there. The regional discriminations are still there. The religious discriminations are, xenophobia is there, racism is there around the world. So it is when we even merely talking of it might not give you the desired results. So we need to streamline it, right? We need to streamline the gender. We need to break the shackles of the gender stereotype that this work is for the men, this work is for the female. So there are so much of work to do, and it will take time because already it has been taken such a long period of time since independence. Though the efforts to do it have been started very recently, but still we have a long way to go. And the more we will talk of it, the more we will reach out to our population, the more we will reach out to our elders, the more we will reach out to our youngers. You guys are not from the law background, otherwise I could have given you so many examples that you would have been got a shock that what is happening around the world, and in fact what around the world, in our country, in our neighborhood, what is happening, that would have definitely taken you back. So we need to talk of much of it. We need to take a stand whenever there is a human right concern. We need not to decide, okay, this will suit my ideology or not. Whenever there is a human right issue, we need to speak for it, for anyone. They might be within we might be on the same footing or on different footing, but when it comes to the human rights, we must speak of it. It is one person today, it can be another tomorrow, it can be you after 3 days. No one knows. So whenever there is some violation of human right, we must speak for it. How did you took Hindi is the compulsory language in every primary studies? Though it is not, let's see, as far as the language is concerned, I am of the opinion, I'm a strong supporter of the vernacular languages. I am very supportive of the regional languages. I myself is a Urdu speaking person, and any language being imposed on someone else, I believe it also goes against the right to privacy. Do you want them to study certain language? That can fine be so, but it's always better. You want them to study Hindi, but you cannot stop them from studying or from reading or from appearing in the vernacular language. That is absolutely their choice by what language they want to be governed, they by what language they want to follow. So I'm not very supportive of the one nation, one language theory. I am I am of the opinion that the vernacular languages are, we have very rich culture, we are very rich linguistic culture, and that is what make India so beautiful. And the diversity we have, the unity in diversity we have, is something which is we will you will not find any parallel to it around the world. In fact, it is often referred that India is not a nation, it's a group of nations. And that is all because of our diversity. So we must go beyond it. Whether providing people's data to provide private agencies, corporations, by government is secured. Uh, Not really, not really, my friend. Uh, Say, for example, the very recent 2 or 3 days back, whenever we were traveling by flight, by train, by buses, or when we were moving during the this health pandemic COVID-19, we were asked to download the Arogya Setu app. That was mandatory. Still, it is mandatory. Arogya Setu app. And when couple of days back it was asked but through RTI to the government of India that who have created the Arogya Setu app, they do not have any idea. Who is the creator of the Arogya Setu app is not known to anyone. And our mobile phones, our addresses, our tracking wherever we are going, is everything have been given, access have been given to them by us because that was a mandatory requirement. Our health issues, whether I am having a heart ailment, I have given my detail to them. Whether I am having breathing issues, I have given my detail to them. In what manner they can be used, we cannot even imagine. But it is not secured. And that is why the data protection laws are being asked for, that we must have a strong data protection laws like this European Union have come up with. So we must have a similar kind of data protection laws. Is it that much hard for a government to store their citizens' record? Now, there are hackers who are hacking the government websites just to show that their apps, their websites are not protected. And that is, I believe that is sufficient. It's not about the intention of the government to protect our data. Even in case where the government is intending to protect our data, and in those cases also our data can be compromised. Because there are people who can enter, who can hack the government websites, and they have hacked the government websites, and they can take our data. Our consumer rights will come under the human rights. Yes, they can, definitely they can. Every aspect of human life is falling within the human rights, right? For example, if it's a basic human right that I must get for what I have paid, right? No one can go and go on committing fraud with me. Even in case it's a part of a legal system, the legal systems are also to some extent are governed by the human right aspects. So whether it's by consumer rights, it's the constitutional rights, our fundamental rights, every one of them are within the domain of the human rights. There are various instruments, human rights of dealing with it. Definitely there will be something on the consumer rights as well. So in case anyone have any more query, I'll be more than happy to address that. If you can put in the chat box, or you can just unmute yourself and ask. I don't know how successful I have been to impart that idea of the privacy in you, and how you must be aware of it. Definitely, if I would have got strings of lectures, then I could have built upon it, that how to go ahead with your understanding of that human rights. But I believe your concerned learned faculty will be doing that for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a pleasure. And the thing, like whatever we have as a module in our syllabi is totally covered by you in terms of general aspects. So we are very happy that most of the content and the concept what we are learning through our curriculum and syllabi is covered by you on human rights. And one more thing which I want to say you is like initially you started with basic introduction of human rights, and later part like we started to feel like a goosebumps on your lecture. That's really amazing. Right, we would like to associate with you forever, always. Like
I'm more than happy. I'll be, in fact, it's a new experience for me, going beyond my legal domain and interacting with engineering students. And there are so many things. So, for example, we are having the generally genetically modified organisms, genetically modified food. Now, how that genetically modified food, which will definitely come through technology, right, can help in you know how it can help in fulfilling the needs of food of the individuals. For your students who are dealing with the electronics and electricals, I exactly don't know where in which way the electrical and electronic engineering goes, but say they must strive to come up with certain apps, certain softwares, certain devices which can help in strengthening of the human right. For example, uh, kind of a device which helps in preventing the wastage of water, a device which may help in with which may help in protecting the wastage of electricity, maybe preventing the wastage of food. We often see that when we are in a room, we go out of the room and the electricity is running behind us. We will return back. We have gone for 2 minutes, but we have taken 2 hours, and when we will come back, the fans and the lights and the AC are still working. Definitely the students of the this technological colleges, technical colleges, they can help the world with these kind of innovations, inventions. They can come bring up their own models, they can have them patent, and it's not only helping the society, but they will be having a hefty rewards for them as well. So in fact, even ever your students need any help of mine with regard to the intellectual property, I'll be more than happy, because I think that is another law domain which is very closely associated with the engineering students, IPR,
Yes, moral right
intellectual
comes under
property rights, especially the patents, the copyrights, trademarks, so or the designs. So even in those cases, I would love to help the students in any manner I could be.
yes,
And I'm extremely grateful to you for having me on board and providing me with this opportunity to interact with your students.
exactly. We are very thankful to you, sir. Like we have learned a lot about human rights and human right policies and the lot of case studies based on the human rights. So human rights is very essential to one to have their peaceful life, liberty and security in the nation. So we are learning. We will learn. We will take out your help for the further students or the juniors who comes to learn the human rights, and definitely we will have a long-term partnership. And,
Definitely, sir, I'll be more
and
than happy.
yes, sir. And once again, I'm thanking you on behalf of SNS institutions, on also the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. And we thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you
Thanks a lot.
for having me on board. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So actually, guest left the meeting. Okay. Uh, Guys, and really, he is a super personality. Okay, he's actually organizing a lot of events for gathering the human right violations in tribal areas. Actually, recently he went to Nilgiri district and collected a lot of human right violations on the based on the community wise. Good personality. Okay, so what we will do now, we will be sending him a thanking mail. Okay, along with the inputs of the student, and we definitely send him a thanking mail and also a digital memento to him. So thank you for being your patience. I'm very happy because most of the guys have joined and had a few interactions with them. Okay, and thank you so much.